Welcome back, viewers. Thank you for staying with us. And if you are now joining us, I am Natalie Sealy-Richardson, your host for GMT Good Morning Tobago. And you know when you see me, more than likely, it's a Friday, right? So we're starting the weekend, and we're starting the weekend the right way. With me are two gentlemen, Reverend Adolf Davis, who is the Superintendent Minister of the Tobago Methodist Church right here. Good morning, sir. And sitting next to him is no stranger. You listened to him this morning right here on the morning show, Akinlabi Holder, who is a member of the Methodist faith of the Canaan Bonaccord Church. So good morning again, gentlemen, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Right, so I was teasing Akinlabi. I am the interviewer this morning, and he's being interviewed, so I have questions for him. Of course, both of you are here to talk about something special that's happening for the Methodist Church in Tobago, your convention, your 2025 convention. So I don't know who wants to start in terms of Akinlabi. Let me ask you, before I go to the Reverend, the theme. Right, I know it is ALDERSGATE, transformed for the transformation. What does that mean for the church, and maybe even for the younger members like yourself?
Well, for the younger members like myself, I think that transform for the transformation. That's about us, the members, the persons, the people themselves being transformed in order to really make the Methodist Church relevant to the current generation, the current age that it exists in, so that we could serve the society and serve the people that are currently there. So it's about transforming ourselves to the power of the Holy Spirit, so that the church can be transformed and become relevant to the society in which it exists.
And of course, we know that you're a member, but are you a part of any committees for this convention? And if so, what's your portfolio?
Well, I'm a part of the committee that's planning our production that we're going to have in the afternoon session. But I want to talk about that a little later on. So you'll hear more of that a little later on. But I am a member of the committee, that is responsible for the production itself.
Right, and of course, let me bring the Reverend in. You know, when we talk about a convention for your believers, what are you talking about?
Well, it's an all-day gathering. And good morning as well to the Tobago Updates and other viewers. We thank you as well for having us this morning. So in the morning, we have a wonderful experience of worship. So we start at 9 o'clock, and we have invited a preacher from, well, he's originally from Fiji, but currently in St. Lucia.
So this is on Sunday, right? The 25th, right?
This Sunday coming. And so he's our guest preacher, Reverend Tuinuku Smith. Fantastic servant of God and wonderful preacher as well. So he'll be preaching in the morning. Of course, the morning would be very meaningful experience. You know, we have children doing an interesting kind of dramatic piece to speak to as a message to young people. Fantastic presentation. Of course, singing and other things in the morning worship. And then we break for lunch. And then we have in the afternoon the production Akinlabi referenced earlier. So it's a sort of an all-day thing from 9 to about 3 o'clock or some day 3:30 time together. So that's why we are calling it our ALDERSGATE convention. And ALDERSGATE is also because it's almost like a Founders Day celebration for us as Methodists. The Methodist Church and most other, what you may call evangelical churches, really owe their beginnings to something that happened to John Wesley on 1738, 24th May, at a place called Aldersgate Street in London, England. As a result of his own conversion, when he was already a minister, a priest, and so, but he had this conversion experience where he now realized, look, I have to learn to trust God more rather than try and trust myself. And that change has revolutionized his whole outlook on life. And so that really is where the Methodist Church identifies its beginning.
Right.
But there are a number of other churches, whether Wesleyan, Salvation Army, a lot of the evangelical movements came out of what happened to John Wesley. So it's really remembering that historical event and what it meant, not just for us as Methodists, what it meant for England at the time. It saved England, some say, of a sort of a revolution and unrest, what it meant for the Caribbean, what it meant for Christianity world over, because that John Wesley and his influence was significant in what Christianity looks like today.
And of course, where is this going to be held on Sunday? And I know when we were looking at the flyer a few seconds ago, it's more than just Sunday. So tell us where Sunday is going to be held, the venue, and what we can expect for the rest of the week.
So it's going to be at Shaw Park, and we have arranged, we're going to have some chairs as well in the front by the stage, because we're aware that some of the elderly persons may be a little less mobile.
Right.
And so they can even use, and we have asked for those persons to use the service entrance.
Right, yes.
So that it's easier access. And so Sunday is all day at Aldersgate. And then Monday we have a Zoom session with Reverend Smith, and he is going to be doing a presentation regarding family. Again, it is fantastic, because when you hear how they function in Fiji, how they deal with family life issues. We had, for example, a session on marriage sometime last year, I think, and he did a presentation, and people were shocked the way they approach marriage. So, for example, he said when he was ready to be married, he went to the elders of the church and asked them to recommend some options. So why? So people go, what?
Yeah.
But apparently divorce rates in Fiji is almost minimal. Fantastic kind of a story of how they function in terms of family. In Fiji, he was shocked when he came to the Caribbean and saw that there were almost no men in church. There are cases in Fiji where there are more men in church than women. So it's a whole different kind of community. So he'll be sharing on family.
Right.
Well, he's sharing all through the week. Then Tuesday, we gather on the eastern side of the island, because we know sometimes travel is a challenge. And so we meet at Roxborough Methodist, Ebenezer. It's called Ebenezer Methodist Church, but it's in Roxborough.
Right.
And so we're inviting all persons down that side to come out. And that is 6 o'clock. So Monday is 7, and the other sessions are 6 at Roxborough.
And Monday, is it at a physical location?
No, Monday Zoom.
Okay.
So the link is available, and, and if you, for those who scan the QR code, they will have access to the link as well too. So the Monday one is Zoom. The Tuesday is in Ebenezer.
Right.
So that's a chance where we will be interacting with him, and he'll be sharing about, you know, their own experience of how people in Fiji live out their faith and what that can mean for us. Because sometimes some of the things we think impossible, we don't realize that human beings, just like me and you, are already living them as a community.
Right.
And so it really is something to encourage us and to give us a different perspective on how people are living in some other places. And on Wednesday, we gather at Mount St. George Methodist Church for those up this side. And then on Thursday, well, the grand finale kind of where we will all gather at Scarborough Methodist Church, and we will have a time of, prayer for healing and reconciliation and those kinds of things, and anointing on that Thursday service. So Reverend Smith would be the one facilitating all of these activities.
Excellent. And of course, Akinlabi, let me bring you in our conversation. We're talking about having a production. Tell us about that.
So the name of the production is called Redeemed. And what this production really is about, it's telling the story of a young man who found himself in a bit of legal troubles, and how he now has to navigate relationships with others in the church that he's estranged from. And it essentially shows how persons could be led astray from God in different ways. Because sometimes, you know, particularly as Christians, we tend to elevate some sins over others.
True.
And we tend to see some people as being more sinful. And perhaps you might be living a sinful life, but you think of yourself a bit more holy than others because of the way in which you sin. And it shows, it really highlights the different ways in which we could be separated from God. And it really shows us that journey back to God, back to reconciliation with God, and that there is salvation for everybody. So that production is set to take place from 1 p.m. on the Sunday at the same Shaw Park venue. and it should last us about an hour or so.
Right.
So those of you who want to see some dramatic presentations, you're interested,
Right.
I promise you it is going to be a treat. You're going to have some serious moments, you're going to have some light moments,
Right.
some laughter, some reflection, some serious dramatic periods. So there's a bit of everything in it. There's some singing, there's dancing, all the elements of theater that you would like to see. It will be in that production, so come out and enjoy.
And for those of us who know Akinlabi, if he's talking about drama and production, you know he knows what he's talking about, right? So it's definitely something. So tell me, this convention, Reverend, is it only for Methodists, or can other believers decide, you know what, I want to be a part of this?
Well, I'll answer in this way. Other believers, unbelievers, any believer, anybody, everybody, it's open to all. It's not a Methodist activity. The gospel is not a Methodist gospel. And the message of the production as well, and all that we're doing is for anybody and everybody. And so we are inviting all and every and all. We are inviting everybody anywhere in Tobago to come and share in this time with us. And I have no doubt that you will really find it a very enriching and blessed and uplifting and inspiring and transformative experience, because we're really trying to change lives so that we can change lives.
Yes.
And that is so important. And just to remind you, the theme, transformed for transformation. So we are all invited. And for those of you who would like to be a part of the production and the viewing audience, of course, the average schedule time, we're looking at 1 p.m. and we are all invited. So thank you so much, gentlemen, for sharing with us. We wish you, success, and for the Methodist Church to continue, letting their presence be felt in this beautiful island.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us as well.
All right, so viewers, we are not quite finished. We have one more set of guests coming up on the other side of this short break, so stay tuned.